Okay? Now I want you to use something different, no verbal cue. I want you to use either a tactile or a visual cue.
All right. Okay, Katie, so in this next rep, let's think about this.
Okay, this is great. So when you say this, what do you mean?
Like this.
Okay, cool, right. So if we're gonna give a visual cue, we wanna be very specific about what it is that I want Katie to do, right? So typically if I'm gonna give a visual cue, what makes it beneficial is contrast. So let's say that she's not opening her hip. I would say, hey Katie, look at my hips and my knees, just look right here. You're jumping like this, right? I want you to jump like this, okay? Now when we give that visual cue, I want it to be distinct difference, right? So exaggerate it into the bad region, right? Even if that's not as poorly as she's doing it, I want her to look at that and be like, oh, it's really that bad? I'm like, yes, it's really that bad. We need to fix it. Okay, so I want you to try that again, and it needs to be very simple, right? You're doing this, I want you to do this. Okay, so try it that way.
All right, Katie, this time, and I want to show you, instead of jumping like this, I'd like you to, instead of jumping like this, I'd like you to jump like this.
Try it again, right? So too many words, less words. Just be like, you're doing this, show her, I want you to do this. Okay.
All right, Katie, so right now, you are doing this. I would like you to do this.
Okay. Now how did that feel when you gave her the information?
It felt better.
Yeah, it was way simpler. Now, here's what I want to tell you about your movement. I didn't bring it up yet, but we need to work on hip extension, right? So there is a scenario in which she's not getting hip extension because you're not getting hip extension. As coaches, we got to know our own movement. That doesn't necessarily mean we're on the hook to move perfectly. That's not a thing. But if I move poorly, I need to be aware of that, and I need to make sure that I emphasize that. So if I say, hey guys, we want to have, good hip extension, then I go jump like this, there's conflict now between the information that I gave out and the visual demonstration that I've just provided to the class.
Totally.
So I want to make sure that they match as best as possible, okay? So what I want you to do now is give it again, but when you give the good one, I want you to slow down and I want you to focus as much on hip extension as possible so that the two pictures that you give Katie are distinctly different.
Okay.
Okay, try it again.
Okay, Katie, instead of getting your jerk looking like this, I would like for your jerk to look like this.
Okay, that's what I wanted. Those are two different movements. That's what makes a good visual cue, okay?